It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the Naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, welcome into Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 18 today. Thank you very much for being with us. We enjoy this time with you. We get to spend it clothes-free, enjoying life as it was intended to be enjoyed. Clothes-free, no restrictions, no barriers, no trappings. Just the two of us enjoying clothes-free life for all of the right reasons. As I am fond of saying, come on in. The water is fine. We can dive right in the deep end, or if you want to tiptoe into the shallow end, that's okay too, especially as it gets colder weather in the USA. We might not want to dive in right away. We might want to ease our way into the less than warm water, a little chilly now. But south of the equator, wow, it's heading into summer season. All those days and weeks and sometimes months of staying inside, clothes-free, well, now they can get out and just let it happen. Clothes-free living for all the right reasons. We'll give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on Spotify. From there, it goes everywhere in podcast land. Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon/Audible, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and so many more platforms. Wherever your favorite platform is, just go there. Type in Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, and this show will come up. You can also go ahead and like and subscribe the show, and that way you'll get a notification every time it fires up. You know when it's coming, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on a Saturday, but if you get busy and you forget, you'll get the ding. You know, oh, that's right. Frank and Lisa are on Naked, Nudist, and Naturist. I better listen. Now, we are grateful that you do. Believe you me, we enjoy the interaction with you, and when you write in, it makes our day. We can be found on Twitter, Naked, Nudist, and Naturist. You can find us there. Our email address, still a little skittish here, but we will respond there, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. You can also reach out through Spotify and leave a message there, and you can even leave a message through our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. Well, on today's show, of course, we will have a conversation with Lisa Monroe, our weekly Naturist correspondent, a little extended version today, as we did last week. And we'll also have part 2 of my interview with the terrific Helen Berriman, all about women in naturism with the British Naturism group. A leading advocate, not only in the UK, but throughout the world, in clothes-free living for all the right reasons, nudism, naturism, whatever we call it. It all comes down to the same thing, enjoying life as life was intended to be enjoyed. She and her husband, Simon Berriman, are huge advocates all over the world for naturism, nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons. So part 2 today of my interview with the terrific Helen Berriman. We also got a note from a gentleman down in Australia, Queensland, Australia. His name is Dario Western. And Dario Western is a musician and a songwriter, but he's also a naturist advocate. And he is the coordinator of the Brisbane leg of the World Naked Bike Ride. He also has a naturist concept band, Laissez-Faire. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Dario requested to come on the show as a guest, and he is booked. And down the road, we will have him as a guest, and he'll tell his entire story. But I suggested to him, since he writes songs about being naked and clothes-free living for all the right reasons, if he'll send me a link or two, we'll play a song or two on the show. And we're going to do that right now. We'll play one right now and one on another show down the road. This is from Dario Western and his band, Laissez-Faire. Their tune entitled Naked, Nekkid, Laissez-Faire, Naked.
I'm working under pressure and it's not a new night.
And there you go, Dario Western and his band Laissez Faire from Australia. And their tune, Naked. And we'll have Dario Western as a guest on this show, Naked Nudists and Naturists, a little bit down the road. So we have that to look forward to as well. And by the way, if you would like to be a guest on Naked Nudists and Naturists, just send us a line, tell us what it's all about, and we will get you on. As you've probably figured out by now, 18 episodes in, we treat everybody with respect and dignity. There's no making fun of anybody here. You are in safe territory. You're on safe ground here. So if you'd like to be on the show, let us know. And if you don't want to do the full hour like everybody else has done so far, you want to do 10 minutes, that's fine. You want to do 5 minutes, 15, whatever you want to do. We will get you on the show to tell your naked story to all, to encourage others to join in as well. We also got a letter from Marc in France. He runs a blog and a website called nudeandhappy.com. We want you to check that out. But here is what he said to us. Dear Frank and Lisa, I hope this email finds you both well. I wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude for featuring my blog, Nude and Happy, on the Naked Nudists and Naturist podcast. It was truly an honor to have you read my post and share it with your audience. I wrote a short post about it, and he did. He wrote about our show and his appearance on the show on his blog. Your support and recognition mean the world to me, and I am thrilled to have had the opportunity to introduce Nude and Happy to your listeners. It's incredibly rewarding to know that our shared passion for naturism and nudism resonates with others. Keep up the terrific work you do. For anyone interested in delving deeper into the blog, you can find it at nudeandhappy.com. Additionally, I have also authored a series of books that further explore the world of naturism and body acceptance, which can be found at Amazon. I am always here and available to provide more information or answer any questions about the blog or my books. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Once again, thank you for your generosity and for helping me spread the message of body positivity and the joys of naturism. I am truly grateful for your support. Nudist regards, Marc. So we encourage you to check out his website and his blog, nudeandhappy.com. And by the way, we feature everybody here. If you have something you want to promote, maybe a podcast, maybe a book, maybe a blog or a website, let us know, because we are in this together. It's not a competition. We are here to help you. We know that you are here to help us, because everybody benefits when we help each other. So if there's anything that we can do to help you in your journey in naturism, nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons, simply let us know and we will make it happen. How about that? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 18 today. We really thank you for being with us. And as you can tell by the music that has been so steadily sneaking up on me the last few moments, it is time for our report from our weekly correspondent on naturism, the terrific Lisa Monroe. So let's welcome in our weekly correspondent on naturism, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing pretty darn good this morning. Hope you are as well.
I am. You're doing very well. You're clothes-free. You're ready to go. You're smiling. You basically have the world by the tail, it looks like to me.
Oh, well, you've got to be happy and go through life with a good attitude, or you have nothing. So, because life is sure not going to help.
Now, a few episodes ago, I mentioned after you left the studio, we had done our segment and you had somewhere to go, so you had to leave right away. I talked about how you always stand up and dance during your theme music. And you haven't totally, well, you did respond to me a little bit, but maybe just tell our listeners. First of all, that's true. I didn't make that up. The theme music comes on, you stand up and dance, and you sit back down quietly, put your headphones on, and then you were dancing out of the studio. You had to leave right away. The music was playing, and you're dancing out of the studio. Can you, first of all, confirm that it's true? And then secondly, was that okay that I said that?
Well, we might have a discussion after this on that topic. Well, you know how I am. The music just moves me, and I do love the theme. So, yes, it's a fun thing, and dancing is, I love to dance. So, got to move and groove with the tunes.
Yeah, I am nowhere near a professional dancer. Never took a lesson in my life, but I can move with the beat. And I think I've been doing that ever since I was a little kid, just always dancing around because That's what keeps you going, just having a good time in life.
I took dance when I was younger.
Hmm.
Probably from the time I was about 5 until about 16, ballet. So, not exactly the most rhythmic of, I mean, it's rhythmic, but it's very
Oh yeah,
formal.
yeah.
And so I threw a temper tantrum in the middle of it and decided that I wanted to take tap. So I had
Okay.
this amazing instructor who put me in tap class for 2 weeks and then said, okay, you're gone, done, now go back.
Wow.
So, but yeah,
That
but
was
so
it.
dance has always been important to me. Never a great one, but I love it. So dancing around the studio is fun.
Yeah, I mean, even with my kids, I'll be walking through the store and I'll hear a tune. I'll start dancing. Dad, you can't do that. Well, sure I can. There's no law against dancing. It's not like I'm bumping into people or knocking
Nope,
carts flying. It's just
nope,
having fun and enjoying life. But there are obviously moments to be serious too. We don't want to think
exactly.
we're just dancing, having a good life and enjoying. Well, we are enjoying every day, but we also work really hard and always have, right?
Yes, yes. And I think it's those moments when we just have that few seconds of freedom and, just get into the music and really let loose. And even let loose is not, is kind of a relative term. It's just that little moment of, woohoo, that I love that song. And that's in the end of that. And, but I do the same
Mm.
thing. I have
Yeah,
been known to dance through the grocery store.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this before. I think I did. It's been several years, but I was driving home. I was at work and driving home, and I was stopped at a red light. And this particular red light often had 20 cars lined up to make a left turn. Just one of those things. I think they've
mm-hmm,
since fixed it. So I was in line to make this left turn, knowing I was going to have about 10-minute wait. It's just normal. And a tune came on the radio, and I don't remember the exact tune. It's by Stevie Wonder, one of his bigger up-tempo hits. And I was just dancing up a storm in the car, behind the driver's, in the driver's seat, at the wheel, in park because I couldn't move, just
mm-hmm.
having a good old time. My hands flying everywhere and head flying everywhere, my mouth moving. I was probably
Yeah.
singing along. And suddenly, the guy in the car in front of me got out of his car and started walking toward me. I thought, sir, you might have to turn left soon or at least move up. And I rolled the window down partially. He didn't come up to the car. He's maybe
Uh-huh.
20 feet away. He goes, "Hey, you want to go? You want to go?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You want to fight?" And I said, "Well, no. Why?" He goes, "I see the hand gyrations you're making at me." And he thought I
Oh,
was,
no.
yeah, by dancing in the car, he thought I was, calling him every name in the book. And it's like, wow. First of all, why would you think that? We're stuck at a light. He couldn't go anywhere anyway. It's not like he missed a turn or was too slow. We were both stopped. So I guess dancing can be dangerous at times, right?
I misinterpreted certainly and the appropriate time and now with road rage and
Oh,
everyone having things they shouldn't have in their cars,
yeah.
you might want to calm down and not be quite so you know
Mm.
vivacious when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
dancing in the car. But yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he totally bought my story, even though it was true. I was oblivious to him. I didn't even know, who cares?
Oh
But
my
he did get
gosh,
back in his car and it ended
thank
peacefully.
goodness.
But I was thankful I didn't have to deal with that. I wanted to ask you a question. I got
Yes, sir.
this a letter from a lady. I think she's about 30 years old or so, and she got married to a gentleman who is a naturist, and he has kids of his own. He's raising them as naturists, and she got married. So now she's in this family with a husband and three kids, all of whom are naked 25/8. And they got married. He said, by the way, you got to have your clothes off around here. And well, why? I wasn't raised that way. I'm not used to it. He goes, well, this is kind of what we do. So they agreed she would take her clothes off and be a naturist in the home. Well, at some point, there was a big family reunion, I think at his parents' home, where, I don't know, 50 people are going to show up, aunts and uncles and cousins and whatever. And he said, by the way, we're all naturists. So you kind of got to show up to this thing with no clothes on. There was a big argument, and she didn't know what to do. She ended up doing it, going, taking her clothes off, with everybody else. And she said it was 100% fine. She loved every second and can't believe how many years she lived with her clothes on and almost missed this opportunity. The question for you is, what would you do in that situation? If you can even picture yourself in that situation. Well, you were born and raised as a textile person. Well, you weren't born with clothes on, but shortly thereafter they went on. And let's say you got married at age 30, and let's say the husband said, "Oh, by the way, all 50 of us will be naked. Get your clothes off." And what would you have done?
Well, considering I grew up not as a naturist, I had the
Hmm.
tendencies. I hated clothes. I didn't want to get dressed. I didn't know why. It was
Right.
just something that I internally felt. But if I had grown up in a relatively straight laced home where, oh my God, you better button that shirt up another, button or something, and then meet someone who had a completely different lifestyle, then, there have to be compromises. And so for me, it depends on whether or not do I love this person? Do I want to marry him? If I've made that choice and said yes, then I would have to consider that lifestyle. And I think it's something that they should have definitely discussed beforehand, because
Mhm.
you don't want to get thrown into it and then he go, "Oh, by the way, I'm a naturist." You know, that
True.
that would be a bad thing. But I think it's a difficult choice for anyone, and it comes down to trust, and it comes down to how much you care about someone, how much
Yeah.
you want to, be with them. Can you share that lifestyle? I mean, being a naturist is one thing. Some other kind of habit might have been a bit of a problem. So,
Mhm.
but it's a huge mindset for someone and a big change. And I
Yeah.
admire her for the fact that she was able to get through it. But it's also dependent on how the people who are around her react to her needs and her confusion and her reluctance. And so if she was greeted as if nothing had changed, nothing was wrong, nothing had,
Right.
different, oh, you could have had on a three-piece suit and we wouldn't care, then I think it's a good thing. But it's that's tough. And
Yeah.
the one thing that I really hate, and this is just kind of my personal opinion about anybody's relationships, is when you walk into a relationship knowing someone has a certain job or has a certain lifestyle, and you go, "Oh, yeah, 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 that's fine," because you don't want to make waves, because you really think you're head over heels and you've got to be there.
Yeah.
Then you come into the situation where reality hits, and oh, wait, he really is a naturist. I have to take my clothes off. That's
Yeah.
expected. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. So
Yeah.
what you end up with is people who start to become resentful.
Yeah.
They've become resentful of the career or the lifestyle or whatever it is, and then start to make waves and start to
Yeah.
create problems. So, it's a real fine line, and for
Yeah.
someone to be able to adjust and then recognize that this was a good thing, it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. But I don't think it
Yeah.
happens in all cases.
No, and she did not come to me for advice because this is something that had already
Mm-hmm.
happened in her situation,
Mm-hmm.
and loved every second of it. And she
Yeah.
was warmly embraced, like, "Oh, good," because I think part of it is she didn't wander around for 30 minutes with clothes on, and then, oh
Right.
boy, she just took them right off as soon as she got there, basically because her husband asked her to, and
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't opposed to it. She just hadn't done it before.
Well, I think it's fear. It's just fear. And it also goes back to that body shaming. If you've not been naked in front of people, then,
Right.
you're sort of like, society expects us to all be, 6 feet tall and
Yeah.
110 pounds. And we're not. I am
True.
far from that. So,
Yeah.
far from the 6 feet. So
Mhm.
it's, we get all these feelings and emotions put on us by the advertising we see, by the people we associate, by the dictates we hear on television, everything, the advertising, everything else. And sometimes we can't pull ourselves back to be who we are
Hmm.
and to accept things and look at things in a different perspective. So,
Yeah.
not easy thing to do. And I would say that there are people who are faced with that, because I think there are a lot of naturists out there that we don't know about, who don't talk about it.
That's true. Well, in the last few minutes we have here, the this is episode 18, and since we've been doing a show a week, it doesn't take tremendous math skills to figure out this is the 18th week of doing this show. And
Wow.
we recently promised our listeners on Twitter that we would do shows every Saturday for the rest of the year, including the Saturday after Thanksgiving and the two over the Christmas break, which we had initially planned as weeks off.
Mhm.
But as I thought it over, even when I was a kid and certainly into adulthood, I had my favorite people on the radio, talk radio, and they always took holidays off. And so I'd be ready to go, listen to my favorite radio person, and they weren't there. And for Christmas, they'd take 2 weeks off. I thought, well, I'm home and I want to listen, and they're just not there. And sometimes people are very alone at holidays. So we decided, we're going to do shows every Saturday for the rest of the year. Now, at some point, we don't know when this will be, we will have to take a week or two off. We just can't keep going at
No,
breakneck speed maybe to catch our breath a little bit, but that will be sometime in 2024. But we do want to take a moment to thank everybody for listening. You know, we've been doing radio forever. I've been naked forever. Lisa's been naked for 20 years. And we finally put everything together. Well, duh. Why don't we just do a naturist, nudist, clothes free, living for all the right reasons podcast? We've done that. The reception has been great. The numbers are way off the charts. And Lisa, I know you feel the same way.
I certainly do. And, one thing about radio is that podcasts to me mimic radio, and the fact that we're attempting to do this on a weekly basis, and because we understand the importance of it, it's, people like to hear the same thing. They become part of the program, they
Yeah.
become waiting to hear it.
Yeah.
And not having that when you don't have anything else
Yeah.
is a very, very difficult thing. I know there's a late night show that has been on for many, many years. It's a nationwide show. They always have a live show on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And the reason they do is because of that exact fact, that there
Yeah.
are people who may be alone on Christmas. So by golly, they're not going to be alone from that. And it's a small gesture. It's not something that's super difficult for us to do, but I think it's important that the people who take their time to listen to us understand we want to take the time to give them a moment of something that they have in their lives that they enjoy.
Yeah, and we have a number of listeners we write back and forth with. We feel like we're friends with them. We are friends with them, even though we've never met,
I
and
know.
in some cases never even spoken to. But we feel like we're friends because we celebrate close for a living for all the right reasons together, right?
Exactly. And it's back to that like mind, that like community, that feeling of camaraderie and acceptance, and and that there's a level of caring that it's kind of hard for when you're internet kind of thing, that we form bonds and friendships,
Yeah.
but and they become real and they become important. And so if nothing else, just to hear you open the show may be a very comforting thing for them. So
Oh yeah.
it's just amazing, and very, very grateful for the people who have chosen to listen to us and support us, and we'll give back what we can.
Absolutely. We thank all of our listeners. Episode 18 today, many more to come. Someday we'll hit 1 million, and then people remember. I remember episode 18 a
Yeah,
long time ago.
exactly. That's the one where Lisa was dancing around the studio.
That's right. Well, you do that on every episode. I just hadn't said that before, but always great to talk to you, our weekly correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And Lisa, go out there and have a great clothes-free, highly smiling week, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, Frank, you too. Stay naturist.
All right. Thank you. The terrific Lisa Monroe, moving and grooving and dancing to the beat. She loves that tune, loves every tune, it seems like. And not a bad dancer, not a bad dancer at all. Just thought I'd throw that out there for consumption. It really doesn't matter if we're good at dancing or bad. Just get out there and move and groove. Dance like nobody is watching. You are listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists today, episode 18. And again, we really appreciate you being with us, being together. Naturism, nudism, clothes free living for all the right reasons. What better way to spend an hour every Saturday morning or whenever you get a chance to listen to this show? Let's get to part 2 now of my interview with the terrific Helen Berriman. She is the coordinator of Women in Naturism for British Naturism, and she and her husband Simon Berriman go all over the place promoting naturism on TV, on radio, on podcasts, in print. As I told you before, she has 3 jobs. She can be nude and is nude in all 3 jobs. How about that? So let's get to it right now. Part 2 of my interview with the terrific Helen Berriman. Yeah, and I've noticed that, there's a fairly famous beach in Florida called Hallover Beach, close to Miami, Florida, a nude beach. And there's a whole lot of staring there. That's not really a true naturist crowd to me. That's, hey, let's everyone get naked and check everybody out. Except not everybody gets naked. People show up there, get their blanket out in their cooler, and they stay clothed all day. And by clothed, I mean pants and a shirt, like not even a bathing suit. Like, could you guys fake it a little bit?
Yeah.
And then there's a part if you walk from the south to the north, because the nude beach is at the very far end of this very far north end of the beach. So you're walking up the beach, and it's all textile, it's all clothes, people in bathing suits, whatever, frolicking around. And then you get to a sign that says you might encounter nude bathers after this sign or something like that.
Mm.
And there's no other barrier. I mean, there's a little picket fence that's like 2 feet tall, but it's not as though you're hiding behind a fence. And of course, when you pass over that fence and that sign, just about everybody's naked, other than the people who are there for other reasons. But what I noticed is on the south side of that little 2 foot fence, that's technically a textile beach, totally filled with people who were clothed, looking at all the naked people. That, well, okay, I guess if that floats their boat on a Saturday afternoon, but that's kind of odd too, isn't it, for people who do that?
Yeah, we've got a name for them here. We call them meerkats
Okay.
because you'll see them pop up and have a little look, see what's going on. Like I said, I've not been to a naturist beach in the UK yet.
Okay.
In my short time, and there is a lot of non-naturist people there, just there to have a look to see what's going on.
Yeah.
There's the other side that are, like you say, frolicking or trying to get people to frolic with. And yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, totally different crowd. There's no doubt about it. And there were people I would notice they would get up from their towel, they'd go stand right at the water's edge. They didn't go in the water, but they were standing in the sand right, inches from the water, and they would just stand there. It's like, could you guys be more obvious? You just,
Mm.
hey, world, look at me. I'm naked and I'm proud of my body. And I guess some of that's okay, but at some point, could you just sit down, down in front? I want to say.
Yeah, or the way they strut across the beach.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, okay, we know what they're all about. Well,
Yeah.
well, what about your family now? I know you mentioned your husband, Simon. You have some kids between the two of you. I think one is yours, two are his. Are they into the whole naturism thing, or they say, well, mom and dad are a couple of nuts. Let's stay away from them, or somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between, I would say. And the older two, which are Simon's daughters,
Yeah.
they're used to Simon being naked since they were small,
Yeah.
and they will join in like with an event if there's something going on that they want to get involved with, like the naked 5Ks, or indeed if they're hot, they'll just take their clothes off. It's not a big deal.
Right.
To them, it's they don't want to call themselves naturists. They're
Yeah.
just like, if they're hot, take your clothes off. It's not a problem. You know.
And a lot of that's because that's how they were raised. And I've noticed a big difference in people who were raised as naturists or allowed to, be naked all the time, anytime they wanted to be. They grow up with a different mindset. They feel better about themselves. They're happier. They have a, better mental outlook. And if the moment strikes them, like you said, if it's hot, the clothes come off, no big deal. They go back on at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, as opposed to somebody like yourself. It sounds like you were raised with clothes on 24 hours a day, other than when you showered. And then you grew up with a different outlook. Like, I can't believe those people are taking their clothes off.
Yeah.
Totally different. So yeah, hats off to him for raising his kids that way. And that's how they've developed, right? It's nudity is not a big deal. It's totally normal to them, right?
Totally normal. In fact, when Simon and I first got together, I would be weirded out if the girls took their bra off or something. If it was hot, I'd be like, "What are they doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I was weirded out by it.
Yeah.
So for them as well, I mean, they've said to me since, like, "I can't believe how much you've changed in the last 3 years."
Yeah.
And the younger one, she totally gets it. But she's very into her branding. Branding is her identity. Her clothes are her identity,
Yeah.
and that's absolutely fine. I feel that she's got an understanding as to why Simon and I promote naturism. She can see the confidence it's given me in the last 3 years, and she's very supportive of that. She understands the difference between normalizing nudity and exhibitionism. She knows that not to sexualize the body. So we are teaching her these things, and we're never expecting her to sort of join in. That's totally up to her. And if she doesn't, she doesn't. But at least she's got a healthy attitude about the body, naked or not.
Yeah. And understand. Do any of your kids together? Do any of them live with you, or are they on their own now?
Yeah, so the younger one lives with us.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's used to us trotting around without our clothes on. It doesn't mean anything to her anymore. Although
Yeah.
she will get embarrassed. Like if her friends come around, obviously we'll get dressed. If her friends come around, we've got to denude the house, so we've got to take down our pictures
Oh
and
yeah.
because she feels that people don't get it, and she's right. People don't get it, and she doesn't want to be judged for what we're doing.
Yeah.
So until like naturism becomes a little bit more normal, then the children are going to be embarrassed.
Yeah. I had, when I grew up, my dad was always nude, at least almost always, and so was I. And my sister was older, and at some point, she found out the boys' swimming team at her high school practiced in the nude. They didn't do their swim meets in the nude, but they practiced in the nude. And of course, she managed to find her way into a practice, and she was telling us about it. I said, "Well, what'd you think?" And she said, I've seen you and dad naked every day of my life. It's not that big of a deal. And she said, some of the guys were good looking. Don't misunderstand me, but they're good looking in clothes too. It didn't have the shock value that it had for other girls. And to me, that's like A plus, number one, why people should look at naturism from the very beginning. Because then when you see a bunch of naked people, you don't have a heart attack. It's like, oh, it's normal living, no big deal.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing you agree with that.
I do. And that's how I feel about it now. We're just people in a group, like a social group, we just haven't got any clothes on. And there's a level of trust within that. You're all the same. You're all vulnerable if you like, but I don't feel vulnerable without my clothes on. It's completely opposite now.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. Now, earlier during our discussion here, you talked about going for naked walks. You can go for a naked walk in Great Britain. I mean, over here, you'd be arrested in about a half a nanosecond. But I heard you say, or I read something that you wrote, your husband got you in to naturist walks, right? Is that something you do regularly? And if so, where do you go? Where do you do this?
I don't like walking that much, so I don't do it that regularly, but I will do it. And yes, Simon got us involved in the first one, which is they're called Stark Trekkers.
Okay.
So it's an organized group, so an organized walk. And I went along really to represent women, because women very often don't go to naturist walks or organized walks. They don't want to be seen by the public. So I'm going and saying, look, it's okay. And it has been okay. I don't like to go for big, long walks. I mean, I can handle about, I don't know, 6 miles.
Well, that's pretty good.
Anything beyond that, I just get fed up and bored and hungry. But yeah, no, it's fine. And it is a lovely feeling having the elements on you, like the sun on your skin, the wind in your hair, watching the little sheeps frolicking. And it is lovely. We did pass a farm and waved to the farm workers. Hello. That was fine. And we saw the postman who also waved. And yeah, we have encountered some people. So far, no one's been horrible.
Hmm.
We've had a few people that have wanted to take photos as we've passed. Well, that's a bit cheeky. Or well dones. We get lots of well dones. But yeah, it's a nice feeling, and I will do them. But it's not, it's not one of those things where I must go and do a walk.
Yeah.
I will do them. Yeah.
Well, I asked you about going for naked walks, and your first answer was you don't like walking. So, just to be specific, it's not that you don't like naked walking; you just don't like going for a walk. Period.
Yeah. I find it
Okay.
boring.
I just want to clear that up for our listeners. Now, let's talk a little bit about British naturism, which has always fascinated me. And I looked it up before our interview today just to make sure I had the accurate number. Great Britain, in terms of population in the world, is number 21, the 21st in terms of population in the world. Yet, I hear more about British naturism as a group than I do any other group out there. And I live in the United States. We have a few groups here and we have some international groups. What is British naturism doing that attracts so many people and gets them out there so often?
That's a good question. We have a good team of people on the executive committee. Everyone has their talents and their expertise, and it's very much a collaboration. So everyone's involved in what happens. We do have a marketing team as well, and a media team. So anything put our way is considered first. And I think the message that British Naturism is trying to convey is we want to promote naturism. We want to normalize nudity. We want to put on events that people can go to experience social nudity. We want to promote body positivity, whatever that may look like. And so that's what's happening. We are being present. We are putting on the events. We are creating opportunities for people to get involved. And that's it. I think it's just we're all very passionate and want to be making a difference.
Yeah, and that's what always has gotten to me too. I hear about British Naturism, the group, all of the time in the United States, more so than I hear about the groups that are here. Now I hear about the ones here a lot too. Don't misunderstand me. But you would think, being so far from Great Britain, that I wouldn't hear about British Naturism so often, but I do. So obviously, you're doing some great work. And on your website with British Naturism, it does say, "We exist to unite and support naturists, to protect and provide naturist venues, to make social nudity acceptable in the UK." And that's one of the biggest things to me that I learned some years ago. It's one thing to be naked in your house by yourself, naked in your house with your spouse or a partner or a friend, but getting out there with multiple people, like 2 or 3 thousand on the cruise, or maybe several hundred at the resort, that's a world of difference, isn't it?
Yeah, and British Naturism do these events really well. Very well organized. We have a festival every year called Nude Fest, which you may have seen about on Twitter. We actually had Martin Navoa come over for Nude Fest this year, and it rained constantly, bless him. But yeah, he got to experience Nude Fest, which was probably about 700 or 800 naked people in a field, in the rain.
Just having a good time.
Having a good time. And we had lots of different bands on. There's lots of activities to do. Simon and I actually did a live broadcast to a TV show in Australia while we were at Nude Fest.
I saw that one. I saw that. I saw another one with you. It was you and Simon plus another couple. And I don't remember what TV show that was or what country, but you're out there all over the place.
So that might have been Mike and Fiona from Naked Travels. We did Good Morning Britain. No, we didn't. This Morning, which
Okay.
it's on after Good Morning Britain. So
Okay.
that, yeah, we've done a few bits and pieces.
All right. Well, looking at British Naturism, it says they had their 50th anniversary in 2014. So obviously, this would be the 59th year, right? Is that my understanding? My math okay?
Yep. So next year we're planning some big 60th celebrations.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. And it talks about the executive committee is 14 individuals, and you're one of those 14. You have that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us your position again.
So I'm the Women in Naturism officer.
Okay. And your job is to just promote naturism to women specifically as much as you can?
Yeah, it's to sort of, yeah, like you say, promote naturism, think of different things that women might want to do, be the voice for women. The panel is heavily male, and, men and women don't think the same all the time. So,
No.
you've got to have a bit of a female representative there. But there's about 4 or 5 women now on the exec, so the balance is leveling out a little bit.
Well, yeah, especially if you want to get more women involved, you need to have more women involved. That sounds like the most logical statement I've ever made in my life, but that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
A lot of women sitting home, they've had clothes on their whole lives. They're not going to listen to some guy say, "Hey, honey, take your clothes off.
Well,
It's going to be great." Yeah,
I think
but
a woman's voice does validate the naturism.
oh yeah,
Say a man saying it, you're going to be questioned, like why, what are your motives?
that's right. What's he really up to?
Yeah,
We know how men are. But
yeah. See, I don't get that, which is probably why the TV people want to talk to me
yeah,
because I'm a female. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, you're a female, but you're also well spoken. You articulate everything really well in terms of naturism, and they probably knew that before they brought you in. I'm guessing they didn't just bring you in willy nilly. Let's meet this Helen woman, see what she's all about. They knew that you were fairly articulate, right?
Well, I don't know actually because
Yeah.
this the Good Morning Britain one came via the Naturist Foundation, so my workplace.
Okay.
And I was actually away with Simon at a different naturist place. And they were like, Helen, we've had this call and they're looking for people to talk about naked sunbathing. Will you go on? And I'm like, what, by myself? I
Right.
was trying to get Simon to come. I mean, Simon was in the studio with in the green room with me, but I was like, oh Christ, I'm going to do this then. So it was a bit scary doing it on my own, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Now, just out of curiosity, did you get any feedback from your appearance, your nude appearance on Good Morning Britain, from friends or family who didn't know that you're a naturist but saw that show? It's like, oh, Helen, what's going on here? Anything like that?
No, because I think with the level of promotion that we've been doing on our platforms anyway,
Mhm.
it wasn't our first TV appearance either.
Okay.
We've been in sort of national newspapers here. Everyone knows anyway. I'm not ashamed of it, so
Right.
everyone knows.
Did they give you the option of coming on nude or clothed, or did they tell you got to have clothes on? You said, I'd rather be nude. How did all that shake out before you came on?
They asked me if I would go on nude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So they actually preferred that.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm guessing it took you less than a tenth of a second to say, well, yeah, that's fine here.
Yeah, it would have been a strange argument to have if I was dressed, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, what would you have done if they would have said, we want you to come on and discuss being naked 24 hours a day, except you have to wear clothes while you're telling us about it?
Well, that did happen actually on another TV show. Or must have been a good year ago.
Okay.
We'd had a conversation, Simon and I, about talking about normalizing naturism for this show, and it was discussed that we would be naked. So we were like, okay, we'll do it. When we got there, we were told actually you have to cover up. And I'm like,
Oh,
why? You've asked us here, we've had the discussion, we've already cleared this up, I thought. And they were like, no, you have to be nude. And I went, well, I'm not nude, rather. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to do it. And I got a little bit like humpy because we'd had the
sure.
discussion.
Right.
And then Simon said, look, we're here now, might as well just do it. So we compromised and I put a towel on. So I was just sort of like that.
Okay. Okay.
And then Simon had a towel around his middle as well.
Okay.
And yeah, so that annoyed us a little bit. And we haven't worked for that show again. They've asked us several times to go on, but we're like, well, no, because you don't get it.
Yeah. Well, and you were expecting to be nude on that show, right? You said that was worked out ahead of time.
Yes, the conversation had taken place that we would be nude. So we travelled all across London to do it.
Yeah.
We got there, and then it's like, actually, no, you're not going to be nude. You have to put a jumper on. Or the worst thing is, they said you have to wear a bra, and I went, I don't wear a bra. And isn't
Yeah.
that sexualizing?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. It's-
I know.
That's exactly what we're trying to get away from, is that kind of nonsense, right?
Yeah. So yeah, like I say, we don't take advantage of every opportunity. I mean, I won't work for that channel again because they're
Right.
not having us on for the right reasons.
Right. And I don't want to say they lied to you, but they certainly changed their mind. And maybe somebody higher up the chain said, they're coming on naked. No, we got to have clothes on.
I
So,
think that's exactly what happened, Frank.
yeah, you just never know.
Mm.
Any other shows coming up TV wise in the near future? What do you have planned, like for the rest of 23 or even into 24?
Yeah, so we are we are involved in some filming for a new TV show coming up.
Nice.
I can't really say too much about that at the moment, but yes, it's again another nod to normalizing naturism. So hopefully it will be good.
I know you don't want to say too much, but is this a one-time TV show? Or is it like a series you're looking at, or what?
It's a series, but will be part of one of the episodes.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
Strictly airing in the UK or not necessarily?
don't know. Probably just the UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly admire the attitude over there in the UK. You can be outside nude as long as you're not being some kind of a fool. But naturists aren't fools anyway. They just enjoy living the clothes-free life, and we can't do that over here. I can do it in my backyard. I have a decent-sized backyard. The only people who could possibly see me, and they'd have to go a little bit out of their way to see me, are the neighbors on either side of me.
Mm.
If they just, one lady, if she looks out a particular window, that's a bathroom attached to her bedroom, she'll see me. But what are you doing in the back of the house during the day? So I mean, she'd have to go out of her way. And
Yeah.
the other one, the same way. She'd have to go to a particular part of her house to look out her window. So I could work in my backyard nude all day. I don't think they would mind or report it. but I'm fortunate in that regard. A lot of people don't have that. You take one step or even open the door a crack, and somebody sees you naked. You might get a call from the police.
Mm.
Any hope that we could get that changed over here or other countries who have that kind of stuff going on?
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of individuals to sort of stand up and
Yeah.
make a difference, I suppose. And British Naturism has been campaigning for years to get the law changed to what it is now.
Okay.
So it's taken time and persistence and a lot of work.
Hmm.
We're lucky in regards to our neighbours, and we are overlooked. But we've had a conversation with them. This is what we do. Are you okay with it? Yeah, fine, no problem.
Yeah.
So we chat over the garden fence to them. Simon will put the rubbish out,
Yeah.
in the nude. He'll drive places in the nude. Yeah, so we are lucky in that regard, and we are keeping the conversation alive with anyone that talks to us, really.
Yeah, and really that's what it comes down to. As long as everybody's fine with it, and they should be fine. It's not like Simon's doing, weird stuff. As you mentioned before, you use the term weird. He's just living life, living the clothes-free life, taking the trash out for heaven's sakes. How dangerous can that be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or he'll, if I go shopping, I've got loads and loads of bags. He'll come out to the car naked to take my shopping in.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. What you can do over there, we can't do it over here for the most part. Now, again, where I live, if I went to, I have to leave my house, walk down the driveway to the street to get my mail. If I did that, I don't think anybody, if they saw me in my neighborhood, I don't think they'd report me because I don't think they really care.
Mm,
But they could, somebody could, like, hey, we just saw him coming out of his house naked. And then I would definitely get a visit. And I
mm.
could either deny it or hope they didn't take a picture at that point. But totally different than how you have it, right? It's just clothes free as long as you're being appropriate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we say in naturism, you wouldn't, it's about behavior, isn't it? You wouldn't, don't do anything naked that you wouldn't do dressed.
There you go. That's
There.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And the same can go for comments being made. A guy, at least I hope a guy, wouldn't go up to a woman on aisle 4 of the grocery store and say, hey, honey, what a nice whatever you have. But they might do that at a nude beach. Not a naturist resort, they'll get bounced out, but they
Mm,
might, at a nude beach, hey, honey, good to see you over there. You look great naked. Well, that's
yeah.
inappropriate. You wouldn't do it in a store with clothes people, so you shouldn't be doing it with nude people, right?
Right. And the other thing is they're very comfortable behind a keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's social media is great in so many ways, and it's really extra bad in other ways. There are
Yeah.
people who will say things to you or to me online that they would never say to our face because they might get a punch in the nose or
Yeah. I mean, why do men think it's okay to send a dick pic when you haven't asked for one? I
yeah,
don't want to see it, thank you.
yeah.
Why is it okay? It's not okay.
I was talking to this woman, and she had mentioned that to me. She's getting these pictures all the time. And I said, well, how often does it come in? Like, every 100th guy? She said, are you kidding me? It's like 80 to 90% of the guys send these unsolicited. They meet you online. Hey, my name's so and so. And then click, all of a sudden a picture appears of that part of their body. Well,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Now, that is weird. And that might even have a mental illness attached to it. I'm not qualified to make that diagnosis, but right. What the heck are guys thinking? Right. Women don't want that.
No, and haven't asked for it. And I think the
Right.
worst platform of all is Instagram. I used to have an Instagram account and I was bombarded on that one to the point I closed it. I
Wow.
just couldn't, I just got sick of it. Every other message was like, oh God, here's another one. So now Simon and I have an Instagram account that is joint. So he pretty much manages it and
Okay.
bats off all the dick pics. But yeah, it's frustrating. Twitter's not so bad. Twitter, you get all the porn accounts following you. People assume you're fair game just because you're a naturist. It's
Yeah.
not about that. So again,
Yeah.
it's educating people.
Yeah.
It's not sexual. There's nothing sexual about naturism. It's very unsexy, actually.
Yeah. And there was a time in your life where you believed that you thought nudity and sex equate each other, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So the last 3 years, I've been relearning.
Yeah. Yeah. And once we learn that, then we can move forward. Last question on British naturism. If people want to get involved or become a member, can they do that if they don't live in Great Britain? Can they just, how does that procedure
Yes.
take place?
Yes, you can. You can join as an international member, as many have. Linda, for one.
Mhm.
And by joining, you're supporting British Naturism's work, but you're also getting access to all the online events that we do as well. That there's many. We have a live forum every week. We do like pub quiz nights. We have online fitness and dances and yoga and meditation. There's always something going on. I mean, a lot of this was born out of lockdown. British Naturism, like, right, we've got to help our members and provide some entertainment while they
Yeah.
can't go out.
Yeah.
And it's just stuck. It's carried on. So
Well, they did make the comment. I think it was on that TV show you were on, or one of the TV shows you were on, that there is somewhat of an explosion of naturism. I don't know if it's the whole world or Great Britain, but because of the lockdown. Is that what happened? People, okay, I'm home, why wear clothes, and then just never got around to putting them back on? Is that what's going on?
I think so. Yeah. A lot of people had to work from home, couldn't be bothered to get dressed. What's the point? They're not going to see anyone.
Right.
A lot of people started doing Zooms with their cameras off, and why get dressed if you're at home and the weather's nice? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, yeah, and that's maybe the first step toward naturism, just living without your clothes and seeing how it feels, and it feels great. That's why you don't put them on the next day either, right?
Yeah. And I think if you don't already, sleep naked. Because I used to sleep with everything on, nightie, pajamas, knickers, the lot. And it took a long while for me to think, hang on, this is a bit weird sleeping without my clothes on. Now I can't bear it. Like, what have I been doing to myself for the last 40 years?
And that's it. We hear that story over and over from people when they discover it's like, what was I thinking? Why didn't I do this sooner? I'm sure you've heard it yourself a lot of times, right?
Yeah. Women who have experienced naturism and get it will become very passionate about it. And
Yeah.
it's not just me, there's loads of women out there who are very passionate about it and want other women to experience the same because I beat myself up for decades and didn't need to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you found that out. Now you can help other people. Like, don't be like I used to be like I am now, and you'll be a lot happier.
Yeah.
It's been great to have talked to you today. We've been talking to Helen Berriman of the UK. You see her all over the place discussing naturism. She's been on TV shows. She's been on shows like this, podcast shows. And you currently write for what, H&E magazine. You work for a nudist resort. And your third position is with British Naturism.
That's right. Yes. Never a dull moment.
What if somebody offered you a job tomorrow? Like, Helen, we want you to work in the office at, ABC company, and, you have to wear a dress or slacks every day. Would you turn the job down, or would you say, if I can work naked, I'm in. Otherwise, no.
No, I'd probably turn it down. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
it's great. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm my own boss.
That's right. That's right. If people want to follow you or find out more about you, how can they find you? You mentioned Twitter. You mentioned some other things. If people have questions for you, just want to follow you, what do you recommend?
Yeah, so Twitter is my name, so Helen Berriman 17. Look at British Naturism. I've got a page there called Women in Focus, where I speak to different women about their experiences into naturism, some of the things we face as women, a real cross section of different women speaking. So that's interesting to see how other women think. Hopefully, the idea with that is to build up a library of relatable women that other women can say, that's me, I recognize myself there.
Yeah.
So that's growing. I'm also on, where am I? Facebook, which again is just my name.
Right.
So yeah. Instagram is Berryman's Bear All, and that's both of us, me and Simon.
Yeah, that'll, with him involved with you on Instagram, that'll keep the knuckleheads out. At least we hope so, right? I'd love to send Helen a picture, but that Simon guy might show up at my house. And very wise you did that. Well, again, great to talk to you, Helen Berriman, highly respected and admired here for sure, and other places throughout the world because of your views, because of your stance that naturism, clothes-free living is the way to go, for all of the right reasons. And Helen Berriman, thank you very much. So let's definitely talk again soon.
Thanks, Frank.
You bet. Thank you. The terrific Helen Berriman from the UK, Women in Naturism through British Naturism as her position. Remember, she has 3 jobs, all of them nude. She has the dream life, and she and her husband, Simon Berriman, go all over the place promoting naturism, nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons. They've been everywhere, TV, radio, podcasts, in print. And we thank Helen Berriman for all of her time on today's show, always out there promoting naturism for all. You've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturist today, episode 18. And as you know, we give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. On Spotify, we also post a preview of the upcoming show every Wednesday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. You can find that on YouTube, on Twitter, on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. And we enjoy hearing from you by email, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. On Twitter, a direct message, Naked Nudist and Naturist. You can find us there. And also you can leave a message through Spotify and through our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. And if you're listening on Spotify, occasionally we'll post a poll question or a general question. We appreciate your answers there. And as always, if you have a special topic you'd like us to address, perhaps a special guest you'd like to hear more from, just let us know. Let us know what you want. What do you need to make this show work for you? Because that's what it's all about, you the listener, on Naked Nudist and Naturist, clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. Well, thank you for being with us on Naked Nudist and Naturist, episode 18 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudist and Naturist.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist. Have a great clothes-free day.